Hello, this is Lori Michelle from Running on Love with God, the weekly program, and Running on Love, the charity. This week we are doing a second part 2 of Who Will Inherit the World. We did a part 1 of Who Will Inherit the World, and it's about the end of days that has been prophesied in the Torah, that is spoken about in the Christian religion, and the Islamic religion, I believe, also has a belief system in the end of days and what it means. So before I go into any more of an explanation, we had a part 1, and Anna Marie, hi, you're in Chicago. How are you? And I am in Israel, and Anna Marie is going to ask very thought-provoking questions, and she's going to give us a little recap of what we discussed in part 1 of Who Will Inherit Our World. Go for it, Anna Marie.
This is how I summarized what you talked about in part 1. Please feel free to add on or change anything that you need to. So the main points that I got were, number 1, we are in the end of days as prophesied by many religions. The world to come will be a physical world with peace and with no suffering. Many will not be welcome in the world to come. The best way to prepare for the world to come is to remove all evil from ourselves.
Yes. I don't have much to add, but I will ask you to ask more questions about all of that so I can go deeper into an explanation. But yes, these are the end of days, and the way to cure our world of all its problems is to cure ourselves. And that truly is our only power. You and I have no power to go over to Syria and solve the problems for the women and children and fathers of Syria who were just attacked by a gas bomb, by a maniacal leader. So our power truly is to go inward and to learn how we are choosing in every moment. And I can assure you and assure whoever is listening to this program that all the world, every single person is falling down even for one moment of each day. And that is not tolerable, because that is the seed of evil that we're seeing all around the world, and it's manifesting in a worse form like terrorism and war and all kinds of problems.
In part 1, you gave an example of what you called evil that to me just looked like simple impoliteness. If that's the standard, I don't think it looks like anyone is going to make it to the world to come.
Not only will people make it into the world to come, but people will and must learn how to choose in every moment and choose goodness and God. The example in part 1 was a taxi driver who took me home with all my bags. I don't own a car, and he left me on the curb with a ton of groceries right before the holiday of Passover, and he walked away to get my change, and it would have taken him literally 3 steps to walk to me, hand me my change, and wish me a happy holiday. And I was 30 plus years older than this cab driver. Instead, he walked away, and much to my shock, he was sitting in the front of his cab holding his change out the window because it was too much trouble and it was too inconvenient to think of me, to be thoughtful and considerate and think of my feelings. And that is the seed of evil that is not tolerable, and it is the cause of what you're seeing around the world. I'm important, my needs, my family, my group, my religion, mine, me, myself, and I. God, Hashem God, who awakened me in April of 2009, and I hear him in English. I speak with him day and night. Never speaks derisively, never is sarcastic. If I ask a question that I should know the answer to, he doesn't quip at me and say, well, you should know that. And it sounds very minor. It sounds very sensitive. Oh, Lord, you're too sensitive. But I'm not. I am not, Emery, and you're going to have to learn how never to talk down to people, never put people down, never get enjoyment about calling someone out and making them feel humiliated because they made a mistake. All of those energies are called Yetzer Hara, which is translated to the evil inclination, which is truly what Satan is. Satan isn't a deity that competes with God. It's an energy that makes us choose between evil and God, Hashem, the One, in every moment. So when you're not choosing Hashem, God, you're choosing evil. And it's not acceptable in the world to come. And you have many years to learn. You have many opportunities to tune in to these programs that I do every week and watch the Q&As and call me for a private meeting and ask me questions. Anybody can do that. You can call me, you can contact me and have a private meeting about private affairs where you don't know what to choose. And I can help navigate and show you the way. Because for me, Anna Marie, the choice between the opposite of Hashem, God, Yetzer Hara, and the Yetzer HaTov, which is Him, goodness and godliness, is very clear. It's as clear as I could see you right now on video. It's as clear as I have one finger up and now I have two. And it's as clear as I used an example with you just yesterday of seeing someone pick up feces and eat it. That's what it's equivalent to me. When I see the taxi driver sitting there like an arrogant young man, here lady, take your change, it's feces. He's eating feces. And I sent you a funny video of Caddyshack. Bill Murray, the old movie Bill Murray, where he was working at a country club. And it's a very funny video where a child drops a Baby Ruth bar in the swimming pool, and all of a sudden there's a panic that breaks out, and someone yells, "Duty!" It was hilarious. And it's like, it's floating along, and they had the Jaws music of, you know, do, 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 like the shark is coming, a shark attack. And they emptied the whole pool, and Bill Murray was working for the country club, and he had all kinds of gear on and a gas mask. And he walks over to what looks like feces, and the owner of the country club is watching him, and they're very rich and haughty, and they're watching him, and he said, I got it. And he picks it up, and he looks at it, and they're watching him, and he smells it and eats it. And the rich lady who owns the country club faints because she thinks she's watching him eat feces. Well, he was eating a candy bar. But that's what it's like with me. I can see like that you're not eating a Baby Ruth bar. You're choosing evil. You're eating feces. And that's where everybody has to get that keen sense of looking at something and knowing in a second, I should get up out of my seat and wish her a happy holiday. I walk through the door, I should hold the door open for the person behind me instead of letting it smack them in the face. When I run in the morning, Anna Marie, I wave to people and I give them peace signs, and they know me now. And I smile, and in Hebrew I say, good morning, Boker Tov. And everybody now greets me, and they know when I'm coming, and they're like, thumbs up, and peace. And they get excited when they see me. Why? Because it's what I give them, and I get it back in return. And that's where we all have to go. We have to treat each other like we're each God or special. We're of course not God. We are creations of God. But we have to treat each other as though we're encountering Hashem God.
Okay, turning it around and meaning no disrespect, should you have had more sympathy and understanding for the taxi driver? Should you have respected that he was in a hurry, had a bad day, had other places to be? Could you have reached out to him in goodness?
No. No with a qualification. When I decide that someone is doing the wrong thing, I scan the whole situation. I observe. He drove me to my residence. The same taxi driver has driven me to my residence before. He even said, oh, I know you. I've been here. He was strong enough and able enough to take all my groceries out of the back of his vehicle and put them on the curb. There was nothing wrong with him. He was not in any rush. It literally would have taken 2 steps. Thank you. Thank you. And he didn't do it. So do I automatically jump on it? No, I look, and just the way he was, come on, take your fare, take your change, was rude. If he was in a rush and he had an emergency call, he could have said, ma'am, I'm sorry, I have to run. Could you come get your change? He spoke English, by the way. He didn't sometimes there's a language barrier, and I evaluate. Okay, we had a disconnect because we don't speak the same language. So I soften it. But no, I called it exactly as it was.
I'm going to change the conversation now. You mentioned a little bit ago that we have many years in which to work on ourselves. Can you comment on how long we have until the actual end of days?
Some of us have longer than others. This is a time period right now that's hypercritical. There's a prophesized war called the War of Gog and Magog, and it's a horrific world war. But what it really is a metaphor of the battle of good or God versus evil and eradicating evil in our world. So it won't be enough at one juncture where God decides we know who the enemy is. Right now we don't know the enemy because the enemy is within. The enemy is everywhere. It's not just a label that we can say, oh, it's all the Muslims. If we kill all the Muslims, we will have no problems. Many people are saying the final solution, Nazi Germany, if we get rid of all the Jews, we will have no problem. And there are people speaking like that right now. That is complete maniacal insanity and evil. We don't know right now. We don't have a label yet. He assures me we will come together, we will learn, and he will decide when that day comes that we now can label the enemy. Now we're all together as a family of goodness under one God, not Jewish people, Christian people, Muslim people, Buddhist people, Hindu people, and all the other religions. We will be all the religions, but one people of goodness and godliness, knowing what we're dealing with. sometimes it's very clear and obvious what we're dealing with, but we truly are all participating in the problem.
You just mentioned that people of all different religions will come together. What about people with no religion? What about atheists? What about children?
People. There is.
It won't matter?
It will eventually, it will matter, of course, because as I've stated before, this is a period of time of learning. God is very concealed, and there is a lot of fodder for people to believe in science, evolution, and that there's no such thing as God. We evolved from Neanderthal men. What are you talking about? The scientists have figured it all out. And what they haven't figured out, we'll figure it out. And we've even read in a book of one of my favorite authors, Wayne Dyer, where he said to learn the mantra, I am God. Wow. My favorite teacher and author also has discombobulated false information. And he was a beautiful author, and he spoke beautifully and taught me a lot. But that's fallacious, it's a lie, and it's blasphemy. We are not God. There is one God, and yes, there are atheists, and they're very good people. I love the comedian and political commentator Bill Maher, notably atheist. Hilarious, but he's wrong. And what will happen over these years, I know he's wrong, obviously. I'm on Blog Talk Radio. I'm all over the place telling everybody, he's real, he's right here, he's talking to me. But they're not all believing me right now. And I have no physical proof, but he will start to reveal himself. And at some juncture, even the most hardened atheists will know. They will know. It will be that knowable. He will show us, and they will know, and atheism will be a thing of the history books. Because he is concealed now, and atheism is a reality now. But in the world to come, it will be a non-reality. It will be God's world that we are deliriously grateful to be in and a part of.
Will the world to come be a permanent world, or will those who make it have the opportunity to muck it up again?
He just said, no more. No more. There's 3 outcomes that he has described to me. Now, mind you, I'm a Jewish girl who grew up with the Christians yelling at me that I'm going somewhere terrible. And I'm not going somewhere terrible, and I have news for you. No person right now is guaranteed to be welcome in his world to come right now. Billions will be welcome. You, he told me, predicts that you will eventually be welcome. But right now, Anna Marie, you have work to do. You're not there yet. So it's not a guarantee. You don't have a free pass. And you don't say magic words that I love God and it's all okay. It's not that way. And so it's a good news, bad news. Why? Because evil is not going to be tolerated. And no, nobody will be allowed to take a gun into an airport and murder innocent people. It won't happen because it will be that clear.
In the intro slide, the question that you ask is, who will inherit the world? Can you talk a little bit about who will inherit the world?
Yes. There's a lot of positioning and bluster and, what's the word? Like King Kong. we're going to inherit the world. Well, us Christians are going to inherit the world. Oh, us Muslims, the infidels are all going to die, or the Jewish people are going to be at the helm. But the Jewish people actually have an accurate picture of the world to come. Why? Because it has been prophesied in the Torah. And they know that in the world to come, there will be Jews and non-Jews. And Jewish is not a religion, by the way. It's a family. So there will be Jewish people and all kinds of people in the world to come. So who will inherit the world? No one person will inherit the world. Creations of God, children of God, who know that God is real and choose him in every single moment, will inherit a place in Hashem's world to come.
If we are going into a period of war and devastation like you talked about in part one, will the physical world be worth inheriting? It seems like there's going to have to be a lot of reconstruction before it's back together again.
There's a word that Hashem God taught me years ago that I never used, and it's called a dichotomy, meaning what he was meaning by that is evil, but evil's inherently good. So it's both. It's counter, maybe you can define or look up the definition of dichotomy, but he explained it to mean both. Both energies are present. So that evil is evil, but it's good because it was created by Hashem God to give us an alternate choice and free will. Right? I just lost my train of thought. What was your question?
We were talking about if the physical world is going to be devastated and destroyed in the wars that are coming.
I'm sorry.
Is it worth inheriting?
Right. Thank you. So I brought up dichotomy because while we're going to go through a horrific war, which is horrible, and a bloodletting, it is actually Hashem's desire for us to have to go through all of that to get to the other side. So the dichotomy is, it's actually good. Believe it or not. Why is it good that we're going to watch horrific war and watch people die? Because we need to stop the madness. From the beginning of time, there's been war and rape and murder and horror. And the reason that he's going to allow this to occur, and he's going to force every man, woman, and child to lead the charge to clean up this mess, is because if he did it for you, you would learn nothing. Look what happened with Noah. He wiped the earth clean and gave it to one family, Noah, who was a righteous soul, and to repopulate the earth. And look where we are again. So the only way to ensure that we will have a beautiful, magnificent world to come is if we roll up our sleeves, get to work, remove evil from ourselves, remove the inclination to want to choose anything other than God. And then when all the dust settles from the war and the horror, and by the way, pollution that mankind has created and polluted this beautiful world, we will all together need to come together and clean up the mess. And in that way, we will learn, and we will never desire to see what we're about to live through ever again. Today was Holocaust Remembrance Day in Israel, and they had sirens going off to remember all the millions, 6 million Jews who lost their lives in a war where they were trying to exterminate the entire Jewish people. And the slogan that you've always heard is never again. Well, never again seems to be just words. And now the Holocaust survivors who lived through that horror are all dying off. And now you have Holocaust deniers. But if we all have the same experience of a horrific worldwide war, and we all lose part of our innocence, so to speak, and we all roll up our sleeves and have to do the heavy lifting of cleaning up the mess, we will learn, and we won't do it again. We also have the opportunity, let me just further that, in the world to come, to live eternally in flesh. So he says, do I know? No, I know it's him. So if we have people who are living eternally and have the conscious experience of war and conflagration and cleaning up a horrific world war, we will teach, and we continue to teach, so that this doesn't happen again.
Will Israel be protected in this coming war?
He says yes, ultimately, but they will not be unscathed in the early years. And right now we are at the footsteps of this horrific war. The war hasn't been declared yet. It's not a full world war until Hashem draws that dividing line one day and says, that's it. It's world war. Holy war. Not man, not some crazy fanatical religious fanatic declaring holy war. Hashem, God, drawing the line and saying, now we know. Let's get rid of the evil. And it's going to be horrific. But at the same time that it's horrific, we will be gathering together and learning and experiencing joy in the middle of the rainstorm.
Well, I think we're getting close to running out of time. So as a final question, can you talk a little bit more about, with some message of hope for ourselves and for our children?
The message of hope is he's real and he's pure love energy. He is the experience of speaking to him and being able to share him with you is such a gift. But at this point in time, I'm sharing it with very few. And the message of hope is that whether you believe me or not, feel my sincerity and understand that 8 years later, I am an average American mom who woke up to an incredible miracle. He took away my physical ears and he lets me speak to him day and night, and I hear the spirit world with exquisite clarity. So if you do nothing else, share this program and wake up. Wake up, because the thunder's going to get louder, and he has his ways of waking you up. And if he has to wake you up, it will be painful. It's going to be painful, but the message of hope is there is a world to come. We are welcome if we choose him. And boy, that's a no-brainer. He is amazing. He is greater than anything anybody has ever written about God himself. He's not even describable. God bless you. Please go to runningonlove.org and donate to the charity of world peace. The goal is to get together at festivals for love, Running on Love festivals, and learn how to get it right. Because if we listen, learn, and work for peace, we will enjoy peace in our time. God bless you, and peace to you and your families and to all the world. God bless you. Sending you my love from the Holy Land. God bless you.